Every single day, over 2 billion people open their refrigerators, pull out last night's dinner, and reheat it without a second thought. They believe heat makes food safe again. That belief is wrong. Here is a number worth remembering: 1 in 6. That is the share of cancer cases worldwide now linked by researchers to dietary factors. Not just what we eat, but how we store it, and how we heat it a second time. This is not about a stomachache. This is not about food going bad. This is about something quieter. Something that builds in the body over months, over years, without a single symptom to warn you. Cancer does not arrive overnight. It accumulates, and some of the compounds that feed that accumulation are not coming from cigarette smoke or polluted air or anything dramatic. They are coming from the kitchen. From the second time food touches heat. 4 foods sit at the center of this. 4 foods that are, right now, almost certainly sitting in your refrigerator. Foods most people consider safe. Foods some people consider healthy. By the end of this, you will not look at leftovers the same way again. Hi viewers, quick question before we go further. Have you ever reheated rice, chicken, spinach, or eggs more than once in the same week? Just drop a yes or no in the comments. The 4th food on this list is the one that will surprise you most. It is something nutritionists recommend almost daily. Something considered nearly perfect on a nutrition label. And almost no one knows what happens to it the second time it meets heat. Stay until the end. That one changes how you'll think about breakfast. Before we go further, a brief word on where this information comes from, because in a space full of noise, that matters. This comes from years spent studying food science and the chemistry of nutrition, reading the peer-reviewed research most people never see, from journals like Food Chemistry, the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, and Carcinogenesis. Nothing here is a guess. Nothing here is exaggerated for effect. This is simply science that rarely leaves the laboratory and reaches your dinner table. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening inside that leftover container. 3 mechanisms drive almost everything you're about to hear. Remember them because they will repeat. The first is oxidation. When fat and protein sit exposed to air, even inside a sealed container, they begin to break down. Heat them again, and that breakdown accelerates. The second is a reaction most people have heard of, but never understood: the Maillard reaction. It's the reason seared food tastes rich, the reason bread turns golden. But push that reaction too far, too many times, and it produces compounds called advanced glycation end products, AGEs. They feed inflammation, and inflammation is one of the oldest known drivers of disease. The third is quieter, and in some ways, more unsettling. Certain vegetables carry natural compounds called nitrates, harmless on their own, but bacteria can convert them, during storage, into nitrites. And nitrites, under heat, can become something else entirely: nitrosamines, compounds the World Health Organization has linked to cancer risk in humans. Oxidation, glycation, nitrosamine formation. Hold on to those 3 words. You'll hear their fingerprints in every food that follows. Let's start with the one almost no one questions: rice. More than 3 billion people eat it as a staple. Refrigerators everywhere hold a container of it right now, waiting for tomorrow's lunch. Here's what most people don't know. The danger with rice has almost nothing to do with the reheating itself. It happens earlier. In the cooling, raw rice naturally carries a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. Cooking doesn't fully eliminate it. And if that rice cools slowly, sitting out at room temperature, that bacterium multiplies and produces a toxin called cerulide. Here's the part that should concern you the most. Reheating kills the bacteria. It does not destroy the toxin. That toxin survives the microwave. It survives the stovetop. It enters your body completely intact. Food safety authorities, including guidance published by the US FDA and the European Food Safety Authority, are explicit about this. Rice left standing at room temperature for more than 2 hours creates conditions favorable to toxin formation, no matter how thoroughly it's reheated afterward. There's a second layer to this most people never hear. Repeatedly heating starch-rich food can also produce a compound called acrylamide, formed when natural sugars react with an amino acid under high heat. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies it as a probable carcinogen in humans. So what actually protects you? Cool rice fast, within 1 hour of cooking, not sitting on the counter through dinner. Refrigerate it immediately. Eat it within 24 hours. And never reheat the same batch twice. Simple, but almost no one does it. Now, the protein nearly every health-conscious household builds meals around. Chicken. Dietitians recommend it. Bodybuilders live on it. It is, by nutritional consensus, one of the cleanest sources of lean protein available. And that's exactly why this next part matters. When muscle protein is exposed to high heat a second time, it undergoes oxidation and produces compounds called heterocyclic amines, HCAs. These aren't fringe science. HCAs are among the most studied dietary compounds in cancer research, full stop. Once inside the body, liver enzymes convert them into reactive compounds capable of binding directly to DNA. Direct DNA interaction. Let that sit for a moment. Research published in the journal Carcinogenesis has linked frequent consumption of well-done or repeatedly reheated poultry to a measurable increase in colorectal cancer risk. Separate research out of Harvard School of Public Health found a similar association with pancreatic cancer, a disease with one of the lowest survival rates of any cancer diagnosed today. The fix isn't complicated. Eat leftover chicken cold, in a salad or a wrap, whenever that's an option. If you must reheat it, use the lowest effective temperature, just enough to warm it through, never scorching, never twice. 2 down, 2 to go, and the next 2 are the ones almost everyone gets wrong. The third food is something people are often proud of eating. The fourth is something nearly every doctor and dietitian recommends without hesitation. Before we get there, if this is the kind of information you wish someone had told you years ago, that's exactly why this channel exists. Consider subscribing, because next week's breakdown is just as important as this one. Now, spinach. Rich in iron, rich in folate. A vegetable nutritionists, cardiologists, and oncologists all recommend, and they're right to, when it's eaten fresh. The problem begins in the refrigerator. Spinach, along with celery, beets, and Swiss chard, carries some of the highest natural nitrate content of any vegetable. On their own, those nitrates support healthy blood pressure. But once cooked spinach sits stored, bacteria on its surface begin converting those nitrates into nitrites. This is the same chemical shift that happens inside processed meat. The exact reason the World Health Organization classified processed meat as a confirmed carcinogen back in 2015. Reheat that spinach, and the nitrites react under heat, forming nitrosamines, among the most potent dietary carcinogens identified in modern research. The European Food Safety Authority has issued formal guidance specifically warning about this pathway in stored, reheated vegetables. One of the healthiest foods on the planet, turned into something else entirely by nothing more than a storage habit. So, fresh is best. If you must store cooked spinach, keep it airtight, eat it within 6 hours, and eat it cold. Never reheated. Now, the fourth food, the one you didn't see coming. Eggs. Complete protein. Every essential amino acid. Choline for the brain. Selenium for defense against cellular damage. By nearly every nutritional measure, eggs sit near the top of the list. And yet, when a cooked egg is refrigerated, then reheated at high temperature, the fat in the yolk undergoes something called secondary lipid oxidation, a faster, more aggressive form of the same breakdown that begins the moment it's first cooked. That process produces compounds called oxysterols. A review published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology described oxysterols as having documented cytotoxic and genotoxic effects on human cells. Genotoxic. Toxic to the genetic material inside your own cells. That word alone should slow you down. There's more. Reheated egg protein forms abnormal crosslinks, making it harder to digest. And the sulfur-containing amino acids inside eggs, cysteine and methionine, can degrade under repeated heat, contributing to oxidative stress in the digestive lining, one of the mechanisms researchers associate with colorectal cancer, the third most common cancer diagnosed worldwide. The food considered nearly perfect, compromised by nothing more than a second trip through the microwave. Eat eggs fresh, whenever you can. If you prepare them ahead, keep hard-boiled eggs unpeeled and eat them cold. Never microwave a reheated omelet. If warming is unavoidable, use gentle, indirect heat, never above 165 degrees Fahrenheit. 4 foods, 4 mechanisms, 1 pattern. Rice, bacterial toxin, formed in the cooling. Chicken, protein oxidation, forming HCAs. Spinach, nitrate converting to nitrite, then to nitrosamine. Eggs, cholesterol oxidizing into genotoxic compounds. Different foods, the same underlying chemistry, appearing again and again. This is not about fear for its own sake. It's about small, low-effort choices that change your long-term exposure. Cool food fast. Refrigerate within the hour. Eat leftovers within a day. Reheat once and only once, then let it go. Use a food thermometer if you can. Keep reheating temperatures gentle rather than scorching. And when possible, portion meals so there's simply less left to store in the first place. That last one, more than anything else, is the habit that matters most. Think of someone in your life who reheats without a second thought. A parent. A roommate living on rice and chicken meal prep. Someone who microwaves the same batch of eggs every morning of the week. They don't know what you know now. Sharing this with them takes less than 10 seconds. Not to frighten them, just to give them the same information you were just given. Everything shared here comes from published, peer-reviewed research and reflects the current scientific understanding of food chemistry and storage. It is not a substitute for medical advice, and anyone with existing health concerns should speak with a physician or registered dietitian before making changes to their diet. Next time, there's another habit hiding in plain sight. One involving a drink nearly everyone reaches for first thing in the morning, and a specific temperature at which it quietly stops being harmless. That one might be even harder to hear than this one was.